On Christmas morning, my family gave everyone gifts except me. They literally forgot I existed. I watched my younger sister Emma tear through her 5th gift while I sat on the corner of Mom's floral couch, still holding the same lukewarm cup of coffee I'd poured an hour ago. The wrapping paper covered our living room floor like confetti after a parade, but not a single piece of it was mine. "Oh my God, Mom. You got me the MacBook I wanted." Emma squealed, practically launching herself across the room to hug our mother. Dad grinned from his leather recliner, clearly proud of himself. I cleared my throat. Nobody looked up. My older brother Derek was already setting up his new PlayStation 5, completely absorbed in reading the setup instructions. Grandma Betty sat in the corner, admiring the cashmere scarf Mom had given her, running it through her weathered fingers like it was made of silk spun by angels themselves. "This is the best Christmas ever," Emma announced to the room, and everyone nodded in agreement. I stood up, my hands shaking slightly. I think maybe." "Derek, help your sister hook up that laptop to the Wi-Fi," Dad interrupted, not even glancing in my direction. The irony wasn't lost on me. I was his sister too. This wasn't some dramatic movie moment where I was the adopted kid discovering the truth on Christmas morning. I was their biological daughter, 23 years old, sitting in the same house I'd grown up in since I was born. The same house where my kindergarten handprints were still preserved in the concrete of the back patio. The same house where my height marks were penciled on the kitchen doorframe. But somehow, on this Christmas morning in 2024, I had become completely invisible. I watched Mom gather up wrapping paper, humming Silent Night to herself, her face glowing with satisfaction. She'd clearly spent weeks planning this Christmas, making sure every gift was perfect, every detail just right. The stockings hung on the fireplace all had names embroidered on them: Mom, Dad, Derek, Emma, even one for our golden retriever, Biscuit. Mine wasn't there. I felt something cold settle in my stomach as I realized this wasn't an accident. This was intentional. I walked slowly to the fireplace, counting the stockings again like maybe I'd missed mine somehow. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 stockings for a family of 5, except one of those stockings belonged to a dog and not to me. "Hey, where's," I started, but Emma's phone rang, cutting me off. "It's Aunt Linda," she announced excitedly, answering on speaker. "Merry Christmas." "Merry Christmas, sweetheart." Aunt Linda's voice boomed through the phone. "Did you get everything you wanted?" "Yes. Mom and Dad got me a laptop, and Derek got me this adorable necklace from Tiffany's, and even Grandma remembered those fuzzy socks I mentioned." My throat tightened. I'd told Aunt Linda specifically 3 weeks ago what I wanted for Christmas when she'd asked. A new set of kitchen knives for my apartment. Simple, practical, not expensive. I was a line cook at Romano's Italian Kitchen downtown, and my current knives were so dull I could barely chop an onion without crying, and not from the onion. "That's wonderful, honey. Make sure everyone knows I'm sending their gifts late this year. The post office has been a nightmare." "No worries, Aunt Linda," Mom chimed in, taking the phone from Emma. "We're just happy to hear from you. How's Milwaukee treating you?" I sat back down, my coffee now completely cold. I pulled out my phone and opened the family group chat, the one called the Mitchell Crew with the little house emoji. I scrolled up through the messages from the past month. December 1st, Mom had posted, "Let's all share our Christmas lists. I want to make sure Santa gets the right info Father Christmas." Emma had immediately responded with a detailed list including the laptop, a new winter coat from North Face, and about 15 other items. Derek had asked for the PlayStation 5, some games, and a gift card to Best Buy. Dad had jokingly requested peace and quiet, which got a bunch of laughing emojis. I had posted my list too. I scrolled to my message, sent December 2nd at 9:47 a.m. "Hey everyone. I'd love some new kitchen knives for work, maybe that knife set from Williams-Sonoma we saw at the mall? Also wouldn't say no to some nice wine glasses since mine all broke in the move, smiling face." The message showed as read by everyone. 0 replies. 0 reactions. Nothing. I kept scrolling. December 10th, Mom posted a picture of herself at Target with the caption "Christmas shopping done for the kids." Heart with ribbon. Emma and Derek both commented with heart emojis. December 15th, Derek posted, "Who wants to go in on Mom's gift together?" Emma, "I'm in. What are we thinking?" Derek, "She's been eyeing that KitchenAid mixer. The red one." Emma, "Perfect. How much?" I had typed out a response, "I'll chip in. How much does everyone need to put in?" But I never sent it. Something stopped me that day, some instinct that told me to wait and see if anyone would ask me directly. Nobody did. December 20th, family dinner at Olive Garden. Everyone had been there: Mom, Dad, Derek, Emma, even Grandma Betty. We'd laughed, shared breadsticks, talked about Christmas plans. Derek mentioned he'd finished his shopping. Emma said she'd wrapped all her gifts. Mom said everything was all set for Christmas morning. Not once did anyone ask me about gifts. Not once did anyone mention anything about what I might be giving or receiving. And I'd noticed, but I'd pushed it down, told myself I was being paranoid. Now, sitting in the living room surrounded by everyone else's joy, I realized I hadn't been paranoid at all. I stood up again, this time with more force. My coffee mug rattled as I set it down too hard on the side table. "Can someone please tell me what's going on?" My voice came out louder than I intended, cutting through the cheerful chaos. Mom looked up from where she was folding tissue paper, her expression confused. "What do you mean, honey?" I gestured around the room. Where are my gifts?" The room went silent. Even Biscuit stopped chewing on his new rope toy. Derek glanced at Emma. Emma looked at Mom. Mom looked at Dad. Dad suddenly became very interested in his new fleece pullover from LL Bean. "Your gifts?" Mom repeated slowly, like I'd just spoken in a foreign language. "Yes, Mom. My Christmas gifts. I haven't gotten anything." Emma laughed nervously. "Come on, Jess. Don't be dramatic." "I'm not being dramatic." I could hear my voice rising, feel the heat creeping up my neck. "I've been sitting here for over an hour watching everyone else open presents, and I haven't received a single thing. Not one gift. There's not even a stocking with my name on it." Mom set down the tissue paper, her face doing that thing it always did when she was about to gaslight me into thinking I was crazy. "Sweetheart, we talked about this." My stomach dropped. "Talked about what?" "About you being independent now. About you being an adult with your own apartment and your own life." She said it so matter-of-factly, like it was the most reasonable thing in the world. "What does that have to do with Christmas?" Dad finally spoke up, not meeting my eyes. "We figured at 23, you were past the age of needing gifts from your parents. Derek is 26 and Emma is 19, so we wanted to focus our resources where they'd be most appreciated." I actually laughed. It came out harsh and bitter. Derek is 26 and he just opened more presents than a 10-year-old. How is that logic working? "Derek is in graduate school," Mom said defensively. "He needs the support." "And Emma is in college. She has expenses," Dad added. "I'm a line cook making $14 an hour." My voice cracked. "I literally have the least money of anyone in this family, and you decided I was too independent to deserve Christmas gifts." Grandma Betty shifted uncomfortably in her chair but said nothing. That hurt almost as much as everything else. Emma was staring at her new laptop like it might save her from this conversation. Derek had gone pale, at least having the decency to look uncomfortable. "We're not saying you don't deserve them," Mom said carefully. "We're saying you don't need them. You're always talking about being self-sufficient, about making it on your own. We thought you'd appreciate not being treated like a child." The manipulation was so smooth I almost fell for it. Almost. So Emma gets treated like royalty, but I get taught a lesson about self-sufficiency? On Christmas. That's not what this is. Then what is it, Mom? I was shaking now, my hands balled into fists at my sides. "Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you forgot about me. It looks like I don't matter to this family anymore." The words hung in the air like smoke. Mom's face hardened, and I saw the mask slip for just a second. "You want to know the truth, Jessica? Fine. You're the one who chose to move out. You're the one who insisted on getting that tiny studio apartment in the bad part of town instead of staying here where it's safe. You're the one who dropped out of college to work at a restaurant." There it was. The real reason. I didn't drop out. I took a leave of absence because I couldn't afford tuition after you and Dad said you wouldn't help anymore. "We said we'd help if you majored in something practical," Dad interjected. "Not English literature. Not creative writing. Something that would actually lead to a career." So you punished me by cutting me off. We didn't cut you off. We set boundaries. Mom's voice had that self-righteous tone she always got when she was defending something indefensible. And honestly, Jessica, you've been so distant lately. You barely come to family dinners. You didn't show up for Derek's graduation party. You forgot Emma's birthday completely. I worked a double shift on Emma's birthday. I texted her and sent her money for dinner. $50, Emma muttered. You sent me $50. Because that's what I could afford. I was yelling now, really yelling. I'm sorry I'm not rolling in money like the rest of you. I'm sorry I have to work 2 jobs just to make rent. I'm sorry that my life isn't Instagram perfect enough for this family. Derek finally spoke, his voice quiet. That's not fair, Jess. What's not fair? I rounded on him. What's not fair is that you get to be 26 and still get Christmas presents and help with rent and a car that Dad co-signed for, but I'm too old and too independent at 23. What's not fair is that Emma gets a $1,000 laptop but I can't even get a card. What's not fair is that there's a stocking on that fireplace for our dog but not for me. The dog didn't choose to abandon this family, Mom said coldly. And there it was. The truth, finally out in the open. I felt like I'd been punched in the stomach. Abandon? I moved 20 minutes away. You know what I mean. No, I really don't. Please, explain to me how me trying to build a life for myself equals abandonment. Mom stood up, crossing her arms. She was wearing the new diamond earrings Dad had clearly given her, and they caught the light from the Christmas tree. Ever since you moved out, you've had this attitude. Like you're better than us. Like our suburban life isn't good enough for your artistic sensibilities. I never said that. You didn't have to. It's in everything you do. The way you roll your eyes when we talk about our plans. The way you make little comments about Dad's job or about Emma's sorority. You think we don't notice, but we do. I felt tears burning behind my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. Not here. Not in front of them. I roll my eyes because you spend the entire dinner talking at me, not to me. Because every conversation is about Derek's thesis or Emma's boyfriend or Dad's golf game. Nobody asks about my job. Nobody asks about my life. When was the last time any of you asked me how I was doing? Really asked. Silence. That's what I thought. Grandma Betty cleared her throat. Maybe we should all calm down. No, Grandma. I looked at her, this woman who'd helped raise me, who used to make me chocolate chip pancakes every Sunday morning, who taught me to play poker and let me win until I was good enough to beat her for real. Did you know they weren't getting me anything? Did you know I'd come here this morning and have to sit and watch everyone else get presents while I got nothing? She looked away. That was answer enough. I grabbed my purse from where I'd left it by the door. My hands were trembling so badly I could barely hold it. Where are you going? Mom demanded. Home. To my tiny studio apartment in the bad part of town. The one I pay for with my own money from my job that you all think is beneath me. Jessica, you're being ridiculous, Dad said, standing up. We can talk about this like adults. I laughed again, that same bitter sound. No, Dad. We can't. Because I'm the only one here treating me like an adult. You all still see me as a child, but only when it's convenient for you. I'm grown up enough to not deserve Christmas gifts, but I'm childish for being upset about it. I'm independent enough to not need your help, but I've abandoned you by moving out. You can't have it both ways. I made it to my car before the tears started. My Honda Civic, the one I'd bought myself, used, with money I'd saved from 2 years of working at Romano's, sat in the driveway next to Derek's Audi that Dad had co-signed for and Emma's Jeep that was still in Mom and Dad's names. My phone buzzed before I even got the key in the ignition. Emma, Jess, come back. This is stupid. I deleted the message without responding. The drive back to my apartment was a blur of tears and traffic lights. I lived in Riverside, a neighborhood that my family referred to as sketchy, but that I called affordable. Sure, my building was old and the parking lot had potholes, but my neighbors were kind. Mrs. Chen downstairs always saved me leftovers when she made too much dinner. Marcus next door had helped me move my furniture in and never once asked for anything in return. My studio was small, just 450 square feet, but it was mine. I'd painted the walls a soft sage green. I'd found furniture at thrift stores and garage sales, refinishing pieces until they looked almost new. My kitchen was tiny, barely bigger than a closet, but I'd organized it with the precision of a professional chef because that's what I wanted to be someday. I threw my purse on my second-hand couch and collapsed next to it. My phone buzzed again. Derek, hey, that was messed up. I'm sorry. I stared at the message. Sorry. Like that fixed anything. Like sorry made up for the fact that he'd sat there opening present after present and hadn't once thought to ask where mine were. Another buzz. Mom, when you're ready to apologize for ruining Christmas, we'll be here. I actually threw my phone across the room. It hit the wall and clattered to the floor, screen down. I didn't even care if it was broken. The silence in my apartment was deafening. No Christmas music. No family chatter. No sound of wrapping paper or excited squeals. Just me, alone, on Christmas Day. I pulled out my laptop, my old, beaten-up laptop that I'd had since high school, the one with the cracked screen and the missing N key, and opened my bank account. Balance, $847.32. My rent was $650. Due in 5 days. That left me with $197.32 for the rest of the month. I'd already worked out that I could make it if I was careful. Ramen, rice, beans, whatever vegetables were on sale. I'd done it before. But I'd been secretly hoping for Christmas gifts this year. Not because I was greedy, but because I needed things. My only winter coat had a broken zipper. My work shoes had holes in the soles. I'd been wearing the same 2 pairs of jeans for 6 months because I couldn't afford new ones. I'd made a Christmas list not for luxury items but for necessities, and I'd been ignored. My phone buzzed again from across the room, but I didn't get up to check it. Instead, I walked to my kitchen and opened my cabinet. Inside was the gift I'd bought for my family, a homemade gift basket filled with things I'd made myself. Rosemary bread, herb-infused olive oil, homemade pasta, a jar of my signature marinara sauce. I'd spent weeks working on it, using ingredients I'd gotten on sale, staying up late after my shifts to prepare everything. I'd been planning to give it to them after the present opening. I'd imagined them being touched by the effort, by the love I'd put into each item. Now it just sat there, wrapped in cellophane with a big red bow, mocking me. I grabbed a beer from my fridge, a cheap craft brew I'd gotten on sale, and sat down at my tiny kitchen table. Through my window, I could see other apartments lit up with Christmas lights, hear the faint sounds of families celebrating. And I was alone. For the first time in my life, I was spending Christmas completely alone. I didn't go back to my parents' house that day. Or the next. I didn't return their calls or respond to their messages. Instead, I went to work on the 28th and picked up every extra shift I could in January. I worked New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, making time and a half while my family probably gathered without me. And I started planning. See, here's what my family never understood about me. I wasn't working at Romano's because I'd failed at everything else. I was working there because I was learning. Every day, I learned something new from Chef Antonio, a 60-year-old Italian immigrant who trained in Rome and had forgotten more about food than most people would ever know. You have the gift, he told me one night in early January as I practiced my knife skills. Not many people have it. The feeling for food, the respect for ingredients. You could be great if you wanted to. I want to, I said. Then why are you still here? Why not culinary school? Can't afford it. He'd nodded, understanding. Let me make some calls. 2 weeks later, I had an interview at the Culinary Institute downtown for their scholarship program. Chef Antonio had recommended me personally, along with a letter so glowing I barely recognized myself in it. The interview was on January 15th. I wore my only nice outfit, black pants I'd thrifted and a white button-down I'd borrowed from Marcus next door. I talked about food the way some people talk about religion, with reverence and passion. I explained my dream of opening my own restaurant someday, something small and intimate, where every dish told a story. They accepted me on the spot. Full scholarship, starting in the fall semester. I called Aunt Linda first. She cried. I texted Derek second, got into culinary school. Full scholarship. His response came 3 hours later, that's great. I didn't text Emma or my parents at all. Instead, I kept working, kept saving. Mrs. Chen taught me to make dumplings. Marcus and I started having weekly dinners where we'd cook together, sharing recipes and stories. My apartment became a home, not just a place to sleep between shifts. My family reached out sporadically. Mom, trying to pretend nothing had happened. Dad, sending money I didn't cash. Emma, with performative messages about missing me that she probably posted on her Instagram story too. Derek was the only one who seemed to understand what he'd done. He showed up at my apartment one Saturday in February, looking uncomfortable in my doorway. "Can I come in?" I considered saying no. Instead, I stepped aside. He looked around my small space, taking in the plants on the windowsill, the cookbook collection I'd been building, the photos I'd hung of my friends from work, my chosen family. "It's nice," he said. "I get why you like it here." "Did you come here to critique my apartment?" "No." He sat down on my couch without being invited. "I came to apologize. Really apologize." "Okay." That day, Christmas. I knew it was wrong. I knew you didn't have any presents, and I knew Mom and Dad had decided not to get you anything, and I didn't say anything because I'm a coward. At least he was honest. "They had your gift," I said. "From Aunt Linda. They hid it from me." His face went pale. "What?" "They had it for 3 days before Christmas. They chose not to give it to me." "That's..." He ran his hand through his hair. "That's really messed up." "Yeah." We sat in silence for a moment. "You're better than all of us," he said finally. "You know that, right? You're out here actually building something real while Emma's majoring in marketing so she can sell diet tea on Instagram, and I'm getting a master's degree in business that Dad's paying for because I don't know what else to do with my life." "I'm not better." "You are. You're braver. You left even though they made it hard. You're doing what you actually want to do instead of what they want you to do." He looked at me. "I'm proud of you, Jess. I should have said that on Christmas. I should have stood up for you." It was the most honest conversation we'd had in years. "I got into culinary school," I told him. His face lit up. "Seriously? Full scholarship? That's incredible." He actually hugged me, and I let him. "When do you start?" "September." "Can I come to your graduation? When you finish, I mean." "If you're not too busy being successful," I said, but I was smiling. He left an hour later, but something had shifted. Not fixed, not completely, but shifted. It's May now. I'm still at Romano's, but I've been promoted to sous chef. I'm saving money for when school starts in the fall. My apartment is still small, still in the sketchy neighborhood, but I've made it beautiful in the way that matters. I haven't been back to my parents' house. They haven't asked me to come. Emma sent me a graduation announcement. She's finishing her sophomore year. I sent her a card and $50, the same amount I'd sent for her birthday. She didn't respond. Mom sends monthly emails titled Family Update that I mostly don't read. Dad wired me $500 for my birthday in March. I donated it to a culinary scholarship fund. But I'm not angry anymore. I'm not sitting around waiting for an apology that will never come, or for them to suddenly realize what they did. I'm not haunting my own life, invisible in the place where I should have mattered most. I'm building something better. Chef Antonio is teaching me to make fresh pasta from scratch. Mrs. Chen and I have dumpling nights every Tuesday. Marcus and I are planning to do a pop-up dinner together in the fall. His Caribbean food and my Italian cooking, a fusion that shouldn't work but somehow does. Aunt Linda calls every Sunday. We talk for hours. And Derek? Derek texts me pictures of food from restaurants he tries, asking me what I think, telling me about his day. We're not where we were before, but we're somewhere new. Somewhere honest. Last week, I made that homemade gift basket again, the one I'd made for Christmas that nobody ever got. I packaged it up carefully and took it to my neighbor Mrs. Chen. She cried when she opened it. "Nobody's ever made me something like this," she said, holding the jar of marinara sauce like it was precious. "You've made me dinner at least 50 times, I told her. "It's the least I could do." She set the basket down and pulled me into a hug. "You're a good girl, Jessica. You're going to do beautiful things with your life." And standing there in the hallway of my building with this woman who wasn't my family by blood but who'd shown me more kindness in 6 months than my actual family had in years, I realized something. They didn't forget I existed that Christmas morning. I just finally stopped existing for them. And maybe that was the best gift they ever gave me. The gift of knowing exactly who they were and exactly who I didn't need to be.